Happy Thursday! Welcome to episode 14 of Uncovering the Corners of the World podcast. I'm your host, Karina Kasmala. Each week using research and in some cases using personal experiences where I actually traveled to these locations, I'll be explaining some of the hidden gems in the US and around the world. Last week we searched for the Ha Ha Tonka Castle ruins in Ha Ha Tonka State Park. We walked through the Jefferson Barracks Telephone Museum, trying to figure out how the oldest phone even worked. And then in Chesterfield, Missouri, we looked for the giant trying to climb out from the ground. This week, we are continuing our journey through Missouri. This week in Missouri, we're starting off our trip with a museum that is listed as one of the 50 most unusual museums in America. It's grouped together with other museums as part of the St. Joseph Museums, and it's located at 3406 Frederick Avenue, St. Joseph, Missouri. This is Glore Psychiatric Museum. As you step into Glore Psychiatric Museum, chills may run down your spine as you look at history of how mental health was treated in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, 145 years, according to the Smithsonian Magazine. The displays are filled with surgical tools, treatment equipment, nurses' uniforms, and doctors' personal notes used in the St. Joseph State Hospital, along with artwork painted by hospital patients. The museum also explains the history of the State Lunatic Asylum No. 2. In 1874, along with a display of what was found inside a patient's stomach from 1929, which included 453 nails, along with 947 other objects. Another display, according to the Legends of America website, is the tranquilizer chair, where patients were strapped into it for as long as 6 months. There's also the lunatic box that looks like a coffin that was used during the 18th and 19th centuries. Aggressive patients would have to stand in the box in the dark until the attendants decided that they are no longer out of control and aggressive. There is even a dunking bath where patients would sit in ice-cold water. In November 1874, the State Lunatic Asylum No. 2 opened, serving 250 patients, according to the official St. Joseph Museum website. It is claimed by the Legends of America website that the asylum, in the first few years it was opened, the patients would work on a farm, raising crops and livestock for the facility. The hospital is named after George Glore, who worked in the St. Joseph State Hospital and in 1968 helped build the replicas of the devices used for treating mental health from Mental Health Awareness Week open house. And then this became the inspiration behind the Glore Psychiatric Museum, where it opened on the space of the original State Lunatic Asylum No. 2. The other museums within this one building is the Doll Museum. There's also a wing that showcases African American life during the Civil War, as well as another wing of the museum that showcases Native American history. 4 hours and 50 minutes away or so is a cave that was known to hold at one point in time saltpeter, or potassium nitrate, that was used in gunpowder in 1720. It's also the largest cave west of the Mississippi. Meramec Caverns at 1135 Highway West, Sullivan, Missouri, is considered by the official Meramec Caverns website to be the oldest stop along Route 66. Saltpeter inside the cave was discovered by Philip Renaud, a French explorer who was traveling with an Osage Indian guide and a couple of other men down the Meramec River. He was told by Osage Indian legend that there was a hole in the earth that would protect them from harsh weather, and that there was some yellow metal inside the cave. Renaud named the cave Saltpeter Cave after the mineral. From 1720 to 1864 was the fight over who would have control over the cave. In the 1890s, the cave became a popular attraction to host parties in, with a 50-foot by 50-foot dance floor, according to the official Meramec Caverns website. In 1933, after Lester Benton Bill bought it from Charles Ruppel, Lester Benton Bill offered tours of the cave. He also discovered another level to the cave, calling them upper levels, and a part of the cave that is called the stage curtain. The stage curtain is formed with stalactites and stalagmites, creating a layered, rigid, bumpy wall, like a curtain in a theater. However, that wasn't the end of the cave. As Lester found out in the summer of 1941, when the water inside the cave started to recede, showed an opening under another cave wall. In this section of the cave, he found artifacts that belonged to Jesse James, the bank and train robber from the American Old West, and his men. This section of the cave was named the Jesse James Hideout. Today, by the Meramec Caverns, you can hunt for gold or pan for gold, fossils, and gemstones at the Meramec Mining Company. Our last stop this week is in Kansas City at 14th West 10th Street, Kansas City, Missouri, to witness the world's biggest bookshelf. 22 different books, like Rad Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 or Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. These books are lined up next to each other, forming the outside of the Kansas City Public Library. The stairs of the library look like cement books stacked on top of each other, growing smaller in size as you go up. According to the Interesting Engineering website, each book is 25 feet tall and 9 feet wide on the library's parking garage, built in 2004. The titles that the books should have were suggested by the Kansas City community, with the Kansas City Public Library Board of Trustees having the final decision on the titles. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and tune in next week as we explore more hidden attractions in the U.S.